Welcome to episode 3. John and James are back. Last week we talked about different organisations, federations. Week before we looked at becoming regulated, registered. This week we're going to try and work out the big changes that are happening, how we get messages to you as a big tier 1 or as a one-man band, painter and decorator, whatever you are as your occupation. Guys, welcome back again. We've got about 10 minutes to do this, so we're going to try and push through it. Retrofitting, obviously massive thing going on at the moment, sustainability, net zero. The hardest thing for us as trades is getting this information. Do you think there's a way we should look at getting this information across? Again, we talked about before we started recording, it'd be great to have one show just ticking over with an update on the Build Network. But James, do you think there's too many options at the moment with social media and websites and newsletters and emails? Do we need to condense it into one?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, Andy. I mean, and sometimes there's a lot of interpretation of things. Some of it right, some of it possibly not so good. So, yeah, to boil it down, there needs to be this kind of home for, giving the industry, because there's so many exciting opportunities. I know we alluded to it in the previous episode, but we've got to get it right, because so often we do things, we've had changes in the past, and one of them perhaps, and I'm not degrading the solar industry, but we had all those great incentives and fantastic opportunities, but if I may, in hindsight, I think we didn't go about it exactly the right way. And the reason I say that is a lot of that initial work that was done on roofs wasn't done very well, because we'd never thought about the way of attaching to a UK roof. We brought German fixings over, and the construction of a German roof is different to ours, as a simple example. So we didn't have the sort of roofing knowledge to help us to do the good solar work, and we've sort of had to try and catch up thereafter. So I've gone off your point slightly, but no, there needs to be this home of best practice, and in a way that is easily, visual. We have far too many words. I run a trade body, and I'm always mindful. We put out too many words, guys. We need more pictures and videos. Snapshots.
It's 2024.
It's 2024.
John, we've joked over the years about the documents and papers that you've, openly said, I can't even read it myself. They're so long. 2024, do we not need to move on and condense this down into a short video or something people can understand quickly, because it's bonkers?
Well, it comes down to the variety of audiences though you have in industry. And roofs is interesting, because when you talk about solar, you've got the renewables industry with the electrical industry with the roofing industry. All who see it a different way, and it's the same on any topic that we come out with. You're talking about documents. You produce, say, the Building Safety Act. That I think that's cracking read. I'm sure you do too. But what does it mean to, say, a tier 1 contractor, a designer, an architect, principal contractor, is very different to what it means to an SME person in a domestic environment. But actually it impacts them both. And so it's, how do I get information in a way that I like it, or you like it,
or suits you?
Yes, and having it delivered by a voice also that you trust. I think one of the hardest things I find in the jobs that I do is certain elements of industry are very happy to talk to me and have a lot to say and may think the way I do, etc. But then you need to talk to other areas, and they need to feel comfortable, and they need to understand, really, what are you on about? What does that mean for me, really? And then I want to be listened back and give you my view, and I want you to think about that and take that in. And so having this place to meet, to debate and actually listen to all sides is very hard to do. And I think it has to be on the digital platforms.
What staggers me though is there's some big organisations that aren't even on certain social media platforms. Now, love it or loathe it, that's where people digest media. Gone are the days of the 3 TV channels with Corrie and, Grandstand. People are on their phones, especially the youngsters, and they're the ones we need to hit to get into the industry. I find it ludicrous in 2024 and again, this isn't against them, it's just a great example. Construction Leadership Council don't have an account on Instagram. Yeah, I look at all the tradespeople that use Instagram with huge followings and do some amazing work on there.
Yeah.
I think, James, do you not think some federations and step into this digital age?
Yeah, I think again that's a sort of reflection of traditional bodies not quite coming to terms yet with the world we live in. And, I think that piece of going back to the point of, I think so many people are desperate for knowledge. I don't think there's any issue about people not wanting knowledge. But as you say, from the point of view of who do they respect to get that knowledge from? I think one of the key roles to play here is the manufacturers and distributors of products. They have a crucial role to play in education. Mm-hmm. So the builder's merchant, the education of the team serving in our case, the specialist roofing merchants, for example, serving the guys and gals who go in at 6:37 in the morning to collect their gear, and they can get knowledge, or they at least can know where to get knowledge from that person on the counter, I think is a real just good starting point.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's key. And I'm going to be really brutally honest, the years of going into merchants, who you get behind the jump, as we call it, the counter, barely know their own name. Yeah. But as you say, if I walk in as a general building contractor and say, okay, right, we've got this flat roof, someone's talked about rubber, someone's talked about felt, someone's talked about GRP, what do you recommend, or what would you advise for this area? And I don't know, mate. That, I think, is key. But again, that's a big process to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because do you know what I found interesting? The yard staff are brilliant. Mm-hmm. The ones that help load up your van. Right, what do you need? Right, where's your 8x2? Okay, it's over there. Why are you using 8x2? Actually, do you realise you can get away with 6x2? Or actually, why don't you use CLS rather than Tantalite? Mm-hmm. They're brilliant. But the gulf between their knowledge and the ones behind the jump, what do you think, John? Do you think that's...
Well, I think you've got the other issue, given the regulation now, that they shouldn't probably be given design advice, because it puts them in a liable position. It's hard. I think that the number of different voices that need to be heard in these conversations and actually put their points across and trying to work it out is getting more and more complex. You get into retrofitting that we love to talk about, but you get retrofitting of a property, so you're dealing with the building itself. What was the building? All the amenities that happen, the products you're going to put in, and with manufacturers, they're very good on their own products, but the systems that they work with when they put their products alongside someone else's, then you've got the competency of all the different trades that need to be involved, the site management, that, and then you've got the critical factor if you're in the domestic element, which is the client, which in many cases is someone who is uninformed. It's different when you're talking about large-scale construction. Mm-hmm. The client comes with often a fair understanding of their building, or at least has hired someone that does have that. But in domestic construction, that is something that can really turn how things work, and they have commercial power because it's their funds, it's their money. And then you try and put all this in together, and you try and tell a consumer, well, this product that's shown up to site isn't up to scratch, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going to wait 3 weeks to get a replacement.
It's nowhere near the U values you need to achieve to put it in the skip.
Yeah.
And I think this is the key thing. I'm working with a couple of organisations on the whole retrofit thing. First of all, what does it actually mean? Ask a trade, what's retrofitting? Most wouldn't know, and I was one of them. Yeah. Secondly, you're a roofer, you're a plasterer, you're a brickie. Who says they retrofit? So how are we going to find these people that are suddenly retrofit experts? You know what it's like, you get a grant from the government or whatever, suddenly people are like retrofit experts on the side of the van and painting and decorating. So I think the point I'm trying to make is we've got so much to concentrate on. Mm-hmm. Do we not need to go back and get things right from the beginning and in place with organisations and associations, with the right number of apprentices? We can talk about retrofitting, all we like, and net zero and everything, but don't we have to get the foundations of the industry right before we do all this? Or is it just kind of sounds good on the front page of The Guardian or something?
Well, I replace the word retrofitting with upgrading. It tends to be
I
when
think it's
you're
a
in
way
domestics,
better. Yeah.
they understand
Yeah.
what that means, bringing it up to the required standards.
Don't ever
It's-
mention fabric first, because I will kill you. I just think that's another terminology which means nothing to most of us trades. What are we talking? We put the duvet on your house?
you
I mean,
know
let's
Okay.
upgrading's a great word. Retrofitting but it doesn't.
It's
Get the foundations right and build on it.
But our success in retrofitting to date is really around the funded schemes.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
seeing the ECO,
Yeah.
Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, Local Authority Delivery Schemes. Those are actually having success in doing stuff. Outside of that, when it comes down to the consumer saying, well, I'm going to pay for this myself, and it is not going on, and consumers are going by what means most to them, changing their kitchens, my bathroom. You start talking about EPC, if you ever want to, probably why I don't have many friends, but you start talking to them about the assessment of their home and the EPC rating of it.
You want to go from E to D, no?
You should consider insulating that and then ventilating. Have you thought of an air source heat pump? And
But
then you have
their mindset is, well, hang on, that 20 grand, I'm going to get a new kitchen and bath
Yeah.
and probably decorate most of external. I'll leave it.
air source heat
So it's
pump.
educating the homeowner as well,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I want a boiler, surely. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And so there again, this is a where you come back to your whole communication piece. It's actually getting information out there, not only to the industry and the different areas of industry, but it's those that employ the industry. You know, the consumers, the clients, and it's then those that support the industry, all the support services. It's a big job.
I was looking at a way of bringing this episode to a close, but you've done it for me. I think that's the key point. It's getting that message and information, not just to us lot that fit it, but homeowners and the industry as well. Mm-hmm. I think we've covered all those big words, retrofitting and carbon net zero and everything else. But I think the key thing that I'm taking from this, we need to get the structures in place first and then roll it out with putting short, sharp videos out, maybe on the Build Network or other platforms so people can digest it. So next week is the $1 million question to John and James, is how we move the industry forward in a positive way. We need more people, we need more houses built. There's a lot of things, but also we're at a tipping point. We have a general election coming up, good, bad, ugly, and different. I think it's the perfect change just about to happen.